Alright, I've got to design the bottom door sill. So basically it'll be a mirror image of that, because don't forget, this is the door opening. This represents the outer part of the door where there'll be a flange which will pick up the skin and everything, and that comes across. So this doesn't play a part in the shape of the outside of the door. So I've got to clear, just like on that side, I've got to clear where the recessed inertia reel sits for the seatbelt. This is the factory rain cover for the seatbelt, and that's where the inertia reel hooks in at the top, and then there's a big factory bolt, as you can see down there. That's all still in place, unmodified, so that's where it clips in at the bottom. So I've got to make sure that when this comes around to here, because this was just an approximation of where it was going to end up, and then it's got to be this same distance off what is going. This represents the bottom of the door seal or the top of the chassis, so it's got to sit the same distance there. And what's more confusing, this is dead level, but this actually slopes up slightly. That's the way they did it. I am not quite sure why they chose to slope it upwards, but there you go. I've just followed what the factory donor vehicle did. I thought about lowering that down, but that tightens this angle up even more, and I've already altered a bit. So a bit of arts and crafts. Where do I get my ideas from? What looks good? But you've got to start somewhere. So this is what I've come up with. I've taken the inspiration from what was there originally on the donor vehicle to clear this exact thing. So this bit here will get folded up horizontally, just like this does there, and then later this will have a step down and then go back in to form the door seal, and this has to come down and then box out that and everything like that. So there's still a lot to be done. At the front, I wasn't sure, as you can see, I was thinking of putting a curve in the bottom, or I could just come straight down and mirror image what is happening at the rear, which has to stay that way to pick up the bodywork for the what supports the rear guard or rear fender. So I was just debating, do I put a curve in here that this one ends up being, don't confuse the inside, but this is it. It has no effect on the outside shape of the door, so I'm just thinking, just mirror image what's on that side. So you show some continuity. So this will have the same thing. You'll have the same step put in it, and basically what you're looking at there. So there'll be this flange. I've only just left it that long because that's just the way the template was, but I'll probably cut it long enough to come around here, and then I'll start working. Whoops, sorry, I'm not looking in the mirror, I'm looking at my finger, the viewfinder. Alright, so it has to come up, and then it has to come out and then slope back this way. So there's certainly plenty still to consider when you're designing something like that. The inspiration is like this was what here, came here, went flat and then around again, but it goes off on an angle here. This white line actually represents where the opening is, which is that curve there, because I've got to make sure that this big plastic panel here, which holds all my electric windows, all can still fit in within that. If you wondered how much it has changed from this door to this one, this represents the door opening in size now. As you can see, it is way smaller. Obviously it's going to be longer that way, but you can see how much extra the door was in size from the donor. That's how much I've pulled things out by moving the A pillar forward or backwards this way, and moving the B pillar forward to get a decent door opening. This is to the millimetre. the door openings across the window sill are exactly the same to each other, just like they are on the Willy. So I'm keeping those proportions, even though I think I'm 4 inches or so longer than that, than stock. So yeah, this is going to be a lot of working out of how do I keep the important parts of the plastic within this inner door shape, but the front is just a speaker. So I can easily move that into the kick panel and not worry about that. But as you can see, there already is the window runner. And that's the motor mount and everything in the middle. So that's still got to end up in the correct spot. So yeah, there's a lot of fun and games, and I have no idea how to get the whole wiring loom and everything into it and things like that. So it can be stressful thinking, how am I ever going to work that out? But I think, well, what has to be there and can't change, and then everything else has to fit to it. Just for this raised section, so not the part, the lip down the bottom, but this inner section which passes through the door opening. So this inner bit here is the inner door opening. You can see how much has changed because the pillars used to slope backwards and I made them vertical. It actually still is the same distance to that point there is what I made the new door opening to make it vertical. But you can see how much is the shape has changed just from that angle change. Look at that. Yeah, there we go. By the time you extend that all the way out, it's quite a bit. And then look how much is missing from the back. Look at that. Combination of angle change and just standing those pillars up. It's such a shame I couldn't leave the door openings the same as the donut. All this work I've done is mainly because of the changes of shortening the floor by the 165mm and making the pillars vertical. Otherwise it just would have looked like there is no examples of leaning it back all the pillars in 1930. The 1930s they just didn't do that, except for the A pillar. Nothing else did, and it would just look weird. It would have just been wrong. I mean, I just hope it's not going to be wrong even after this. But I'm doing my best, and then it is what it is. So anyway, it almost matches this radius here. Almost. But I'm hoping still to use some of this panel. These features in here. There's going to be a lot of plastic welding, and maybe I can cover it with leather or something like this. This is all a leather internal there. Maybe I can just cover it with vinyl even to make it affordable, like I did with the truck. Wouldn't surprise me if this is some sort of, this definitely is leather here, but this is probably vinyl already. Most of your leather interiors have vinyl backs on those seats. It's only what you sit on is leather, nothing else. Anyway, just thought I'd show you for giggles how much how much has changed. And now I have just finished making the first connection between the A and B pillars. So this will, this is, remember, the plastic protection cover for the inertia reel for the seatbelt. So same as this is all in the stock configuration, even if its pillars being moved forward and stood up, but this is the way it was factory. And so the rest of this has to follow this down, and it'll be further back from the edge because I'm going to have a seal that runs all the way down here and then it's going to pick up eventually the bottom half of this door seal. So it's going to step down and then go around and under. So if you can imagine this coming out a little bit, down to take a seal, come forward again, and then roll around, and then go back, and then it'll drop down again, and then eventually be plug welded to the side of the chassis, because there's no way I can get a spot welder in there, so it'll be plug welded or rosette welded. So this is will also have that spacing back for the seal to join in with that lip that will be going straight from one end to the other. Well, it won't be straight, it'll be curving the outside following the body template. So anyway, that's going to be a tricky little thing, but first I'll finish off the other side while everything's still on my head. This was a bit of a pain. I had to get enough clearance for where the door on the sill sits, and then clearance under the door. I end up having to make this level because for the factory how to tilt it down at the front 10 mil, and so I had to raise that up and then weld a piece all the way around, grind that all off, and then I could make sure that this was level, so I'd have enough room for the seal, and then the door reveal, I suppose you'd call it, that runs along the bottom there. All right, onwards. I found the limits really of a little kick shrinker, because you've only got 20 mil of depth, 25 mil of depth each side. You can't have a very wide flange. So I wanted this to be wider so I would be able to clear all the way to this corner here. So I had 60 mil wide, and I've had to trim that back to 40 or inch and a half just to get that amount of curve, because you're stretching that outside and it just starts bulking up, otherwise it just wouldn't move, it couldn't move. And this side I got away with 50 only because the amount of movement that I needed this way is far less than those two tight curves. So of course it depends on how much curve. The more curve you need, the narrower that flange needs to be. So anything more than the jaw depth and you start running into problems. So I've pretty well pushed the limit there for an inch and a half with inch jaws. I'd really like some deeper stretcher shrinkers. Might have to pony up for a bit there. It's on special at the moment here in Forbes, the deeper ones. So at Machinery House. So yeah, maybe a quiet word in my wife's ear and say, darling, I need a new tool. Fortunately, she buys a lot of tools herself for herself when we go, well, not to go there, but other places. She's got a big collection of different tools because she does wire weaving. Amazing art that she does. It's incredible. It really is. I'm astounded at what she can do with metal wire. Anyway, there you go. This is the crazy extent that I go to I've been using these for years. That's how I did the cab cut on the truck when it was about 2008. But I'm setting up this corner, and so before I tack it in place I've got to make sure that it's all square in every plane. So so as you can see that this door seal level there carries all the way through to that side, and this is also following the curve of that body template as well. And then it's also curving this way as well, because that's not straight, it's actually curved this way and that way. So you wonder why it takes so long. OCD at its best. Alright, I've started doing the front lower door seal. Well, it's not an upper door seal, is there? So I had to first cut away the first rendition of this, and what I'm using here is the rest of that electrical cabinet door, which is actually 17 gauge versus the 18 gauge that I've been doing everything else. So in millimeters that's 1.2, this is about 1.37 or something like that. It's just that little bit thicker, being economical. One advantage though of putting thick to thin is that I'm just able to fuse weld. So you can see along here, that's completely flush in areas. This has been punished just by hammering. I use the small hammer there, and so I can, what I concentrate is the tip of the TIG right on the thick side, just off the side of the join, and then flowing the molten metal into the thinner side. So using the extra thickness of here, and then there's no filler has been added at all. You don't, there's a tiny bit of drop there where I've got too hot and slow, so I might try hammering that through from the other side. There's a few spots on the other side that didn't come all the way through, and so I've actually just in those areas hit it through. I run the TIG from this side as well. I do that fairly regularly, even when I'm using filler wire. And strangely enough, you can, make sure I don't drop that. You can almost wick the area. So normally when I'm doing a normal joint, I'll use filler weld, and then you end up with a bead all the way along. And anywhere that hasn't gone through on the other side, I turn it over, run the TIG through without adding any extra material, and it'll wick the bead from this side through to the other side. Even though it's against gravity, you're pulling it uphill. I suppose it's like the old string in water, isn't it? The water will travel uphill when it's wicking like that. So this has all been prepared, and so this whole corner now will get a filler panel in there and to come out and meet the rest of the back of the B-pillar that's over there. So one of the things, I'm constantly trying things. I was getting a bad curve when I was putting this curve in. So you can see it's curved to follow the body curve, and just using the shrinker on this side, stretcher on that side. But you've got to really balance that, because if you don't keep this exactly this wall here exactly vertical, which is influenced by, if you over shrink this side, it's going to tip forward, or if you do more stretching on this side, it's going to pull it out, so you can get waviness. That will also stop this being flat. So you've got to be keeping it balanced, to keep an eye on this wall here, I call it a wall but step, to make sure that it's staying 90 degrees to each other. So if it's pulling out here, it'll bow one way. If it's pushing, if you're pushing it too far forward, it'll bow the other way. So you can end up in a real wave. So it's really difficult to correct if you didn't notice until you after welded, which I did on one of them on the back doors, and then had to, of course, I had no access to shrink this area to push it forward, or this area you can get and pull it that way, but not vice versa. So it took quite a bit of fandangling to make it come straight. All right, hopefully there's a few tidbits there for you. Well, you look at that. No, I won't insert the usual little clip they stick with it, whatever movie that's from. Well, door seal number 3 done. You beauty. So it might not look like much, but don't forget before, all this from here all the way out to there and then down there is where I had it. I had it flush running down here all the way across to there. Now, the reason I changed is that I was worried about lack of door structure this far from the edge, because along the edge where the sill presses on is usually 3 layers thick. It's the door skin wrapping around a flange that sticks out. Now, I would have only had 1/2 inch of structure all the way back to here, and I didn't think that's enough. So by adding, it's just over 1/2 inch, I've doubled the thickness, so I've got now 1 inch of door structure I can have before the flange that the door skin wraps around like that. So, and let alone all this extra area here as the B pillar comes out, because that's actually vertical, doesn't look it, but it is. So yeah, I was just worried that that amount of area, only 1/2 inch thick, you could bang your door corner against something, open it against something, God forbid, and hit a post or whatever, and you could bend that in. When it's all nicely beautiful and painted, it'd be horrible. So now we've got double the door structure, which is similar to what is normal for that corner. For the donor had that as well. So it's a lot less obtrusive as well. I could have come in up around the seatbelt mount and then back again and then up there, and I think that just would have not looked good. This is what the Chrysler donor had as well. It had this same shape, so I've just done the manufacturing, copied what the manufacturer has done. So now I can make this all over again on the other side. So you can see here that between the B and C pillars for the opposite side is already sitting there ready to go back on. And so now I can start creating all of that on the opposite side. So at least I know the plan. And even this one was a lot faster once I created the first one. And then it's basically a mirror image for the front door.